In the final days of this campaign, Donald Trump's stooges are as desperate as ever to defend the indefensible actions of their cult leader, and that means going on the Sunday shows, which is exactly what one of the most, or maybe the most disingenuous Trump stooge, Tim Scott, did this morning. And unlucky for Tim and luckily for us, Dana Bash wasn't having any of the lies that Tim Scott was pushing this morning on CNN, shutting him down to the point that Tim Scott just absolutely crumbled. It was hilarious to watch, and we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 500,000 subscribers, and it would really mean the world to me. Now let's get into Dana Bash just shutting down Tim Scott.
I want to get to a little bit more of that in 1 second, but I do want to just quickly jump ahead to Election Day and what happens after Election Day, because one of Donald Trump's allies, Steve Bannon, who was released from prison this week, told the New York Times that Trump should simply declare victory on election night, regardless of the results. Here's what he said. He should stand up and say, hey, I've won this, and we have teams right now that are going to make sure that this thing is not going to be stolen. That was his advice to Trump 4 years ago. That's what Trump did 4 years ago. It led directly to January 6th. Will you urge the former president not to prematurely declare victory again and allow the process to play out so the American people can trust the final legitimate outcome?
Dana, we're looking forward to a very good day on Tuesday night without any question. I'm excited to see that the battleground states that we've just talked about are all leaning towards Trump. So the good news is we will have a fair election and Donald Trump will be our next president. I look at the facts that in Wisconsin, when I was in Wisconsin just recently, the voters are heading in our direction. And the good news is 2 out of 3 voters want to vote in person in Wisconsin, even though they have mail-in ballots. You just showed a stat a few minutes ago where 400,000 votes swing towards Republicans in Pennsylvania. You take the number of Democrats not voting and the number of Republicans who have registered, and that's before you add on top of that the 300,000 Jewish voters who find themselves being polarized away from the Democrat Party. This is going to be a very good election, and we, the people, will make that decision.
I appreciate your optimism. That's your job on the eve of the election. But what I'm asking about is what if he doesn't win? And the fact of the matter is that Trump is already spreading false claims about cheating in Pennsylvania. He has repeatedly predicted a massive victory, even though polls show that the race is very close. He's setting the stage for his supporters not to believe the results if he loses. Do you want him to stop doing that?
I would never tell any candidate on the ballot to talk about what happens if they lose. Obviously, you're going to lean into the victory, especially
I
when the
appreciate
latest
that, Senator.
polls
Forgive me,
in battleground states
but spreading
says
false
that you're
rumors.
running forward. You're running ahead of your candidate.
Totally,
No,
but
listen,
saying false
Dana,
things
you and I
about
disagree on this one.
fraud
Totally disagree on this
is
one.
not. You think it's okay to spread false rumors about fraud and undermine the integrity of the election, regardless of what happens?
Dana, the liberal media has done a better job of spreading misinformation than
Senator.
any candidate I've seen so far. That's true. Listen, here's the fact. We're not seeing the coverage of 2 assassination attempts on CNN
We
against
did
Donald Trump.
wall-to-wall
We're not seeing the
coverage.
comments about Kamala Harris talking about fascists, calling Donald Trump a fascist.
John Kelly
We
called
should
him a
focus on
fascist.
giving
His former
the
chief
American
of
people
staff.
the opportunity, giving, and she repeated it, giving people the
Well, wouldn't
opportunity
you? If
to make their own
Kamala
decisions.
Harris's former
That's
chief
what we
of staff
Americans-
called her a fascist, I would guess that you would repeat it too. And Donald Trump has called him one as well.
The bottom line is this.
This is how we need to treat these lies from Republicans as we approach Election Day. The decision by Donald Trump to continue to push his election fraud claims is just absolutely disgraceful, but it's expected, it is predictable, and it's also predictable that Donald Trump's stooges are going to stand up for him. But we have to call out the fact that they are trying to sow doubt about this election, not because they think there's fraud, but they know they're losing. That is the reason why. But it's not just Tim Scott and these stooges around Donald Trump who we should be worried about. It is the members of his potential administration who should really scare us. And so Dana Bash asked Tim Scott about one of those, an RFK Jr., and he had this to say.
No, Kennedy is a big spreader of conspiracy theories about vaccines' safety and efficacy. He also declared yesterday that Trump will push to remove fluoride from public water. Should he have, as Donald Trump has said, a major role in determining America's public health policy?
Well, I think what we should do first is win, Dan, without any question. We're on the cusp of victory, so let's not talk about anything about who's going to serve in the administration until after we actually declared the winner. There's no doubt that President Trump has surrounded himself with some really fine people. I think of John Ratcliffe, who served as a director of national intelligence, and the really good work that he did. I think what you'll see this time around are the kind of people who want to serve in his administration that reflected the success that we had in 2017 through 2020. So I'm very optimistic that after we win, we'll have a serious conversation about who serves in the cabinet, who serves in the administration, and we'll have strong patriots who love America, who loves Americans, and who want to serve in this cabinet.
You didn't name RFK Jr.
Well, I didn't. You're right, because I'm not going to name anybody that I don't have a personal relationship with, that I don't know how they're going to serve in the cabinet. But I do have strong confidence that this administration will choose highly competent, qualified individuals to do the work that they will be assigned to.
I just want to ask one quick follow-up, and definitely did not expect to be asking you about fluoride in water 2 days before the election. But in 2018, you did introduce legislation.
No voters have, by the way, either.
Yeah. Well, in 2018, you introduced legislation to support fluoride efforts in underserved communities. Since RFK Jr. made this, he did this on social media yesterday, making this announcement that Donald Trump is going to give him support if he's in the White House, and that he will move to eliminate fluoride from water. Are you okay with that as one of the first things that happens in a second Trump term?
Dan, I'm laughing because I can't believe that we're having a conversation about fluoride.
I mean, take it up with RFK Jr.
Seriously, I can't take it up with RFK Jr. I'm going to let you do that part because you're good at this part. I'm going to stay in my lane, which is talking about the issues that voters are. Seriously, Dana, we are 48 hours away from the most consequential election in American history, and voters in Michigan, in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, and North Carolina are all talking about crime and unemployment. They're talking about the border. They're talking about 70,000 Americans losing their lives to fentanyl. They're not talking about fluoride. And I just am going to stay focused on trying to make my closing argument why we should be optimistic about America's future, because we have the key ingredients to that future. Educate.
We continue to talk about it every single day on this show, how what we should be scared of in the Trump administration is not just that Donald Trump would have completely unchecked power, that he would be acting like a king, like a tyrant, like a dictator, but he would empower those around him, the RFK Juniors, the Elon Musks, the Laura Loomer, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, to do whatever they wanted, to act with impunity, and to attack our government. And that should terrify us. It is one of the many reasons on a long list of why we need to turn out on Tuesday in historic numbers. And of course, we're already getting an indication that that is happening in that incredible Iowa poll from yesterday that clearly has the Republican Party shook up. So they're making accusations against the media like Tim Scott was right here.
I want to allow you to make your point, which I just did. But I can't let go of the fact that you are saying it is the media spreading claims. It is not true. It is Donald Trump who is saying things that are Donald Trump is saying things just about Pennsylvania. Just one example that local officials are saying is not true. We saw what happened on January 6th as a result of that and many other things. You were there at the Capitol. Are you saying right now, you want to leave this conversation and say you are okay with his rhetoric?
Well, Dana, what I'm going to tell you is the truth. The Supreme Court and local courts in Pennsylvania have ruled in favor of the Trump campaign this election cycle.
But this has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with what he's saying.
Made changes prospectively. You're asking the question about voter integrity, election integrity.
Right.
I'm giving you the answer. We've seen a strong shift in the right direction, and that's reasons for us to be optimistic that this election will be fair. I'm of course going to say my candidate's going to win because the polls reinforce that fact, and the evidence I'm seeing on the ground only highlights or magnifies the fact that Donald Trump is doing very well in the battleground states. We are not just optimistic, we are going to be motivated, which will allow us to mobilize our voters. This election will be decided by the turnout.
So if you believe, you just said that you believe that the election will be free and fair. So does that mean that you are confident that if Donald Trump loses, I know you think he's going to win, but let's just play this out, if he loses, that he will concede?
I'm confident that he's going to win without any question. And yes, I do believe that we will have a fair election. We will honor the results, and we will celebrate the 47th president being Donald Trump.
Okay, let me turn to some.
Really, Tim? It's the media lying about Donald Trump. I could not disagree with any point more than the idea that the media is biased towards liberals, that the Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen podcasts aren't the three biggest in the world, that Fox isn't the biggest cable outlet, that we don't have billionaires owning newspapers preventing endorsements of Kamala Harris. It is a conservative media, and we all know that to be true. No one's lying about Donald Trump. Their reporting does not go far enough. It only sane washes him. This is nonsense from Tim Scott. It is expected, but it is a ridiculous message to close with. Oh, we're such victims over here at MAGA. But a very different closing message is coming out of the Kamala Harris campaign with this incredible clip from Tim Walz right here.
And all of you, the older folks will get this. Younger folks, trust me, there'll come a day. Someday you're going to be sitting on that porch. You're going to be in that rocking chair, and a little one's going to come up to you after been in school where they've been studying the 2024 election. And they're going to ask, when everything was on the line and the American experiment was on the line, and there was somebody running who asked to be a dictator and to overturn the Constitution and talk about using the military against our own people, what did you do to stop that from happening? And you're going to be able to say, every damn thing we could. Every damn thing we could.
What an incredible message, a closing message from Tim Walz. In this election, we don't have an opportunity just to defeat the doom and gloom that is Donald Trump, to turn the page on a time of fear and division, divisiveness, anger, but to move forward in a positive direction with a big tent coalition of people united to protect democracy, to move this country forward, to better us every single day behind Kamala Harris, behind Tim Walz. And I am certainly excited about that and the historic opportunity we have to elect our first female president. And we are going to be talking about that every hour and every second up until Election Day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.